folks, and you're all very welcome back to the channel. Thanks for joining in. In case you haven't been here before, my name is Frankie Carroll and you're more than welcome. So one of the things is I've been getting a lot of questions about this latest video that you just seen. This was taken on the GoPro Hero 11. Basically it was taken using the time-lapse mode in the GoPro Hero 11. Now one of my favorite things to do is to shoot time lapses. And normally what I would do is I'll shoot the time lapses on my Canon M50. What I do is I take a series of photographs over a certain length of time and I put them together to create a time lapse. I will always edit these time lapses. I shoot them in RAW, but I always edit these time lapses afterwards in a program called LR Timelapse. But the GoPro Hero 11 allows you to capture a lot of these and just basically bake it into a video straight away. I believe on the GoPro Hero 10 there was only 2 or 3 options, but these extra options take a lot of what you need to program in yourself out of what you need to do. So it's pretty much point and shoot, just with a little bit of experimentation. Now this time around in the GoPro Hero 11, they've done some changes where it allows you to go directly into the GoPro, into the time-lapse mode, and there's a section in there called vehicle lights. A lot of the work is done by the GoPro, but you will have to tweak some of the settings yourself. And here's how I set mine up for the video that you just saw. Now before we go any further, if you take 1 second just to smash that subscribe button, I'd really appreciate it. I'm trying to get over the 1,000 subscribers and that will really help me an awful lot. Okay, so to get into the time-lapse mode, you swipe to the right, you go into the time-lapse section, and if you click just here, so these are all your time-lapse options. So we have time warp, we've got star trails, light painting, vehicle lights, time-lapse, and then night-lapse. So if you select vehicle lights, that's the one that I'm actually using. So when you go into that, click on the right hand side here on your little pencil tool. So these are my settings that's actually in the vehicle light section. So I have my trail length set to short. You can also set it to long and you can set it to max. But in a situation I think in here when you're in the city, you're better off just to keep it to short. Resolution can either be 5K or 4K, and I kept it at 16:9 is the resolution. Okay, now your lens, the option for a lens is going to be blocked out. Format video is going to be blocked out. Your interval is auto. Now here I have my shutter speed set to 1 second. Now you can play around with this if you wish. Set it to half a second or 2 seconds. But I had mine in 1 second for this actual video. Schedule capture if you want to do that, no need for it. No duration, no limit. Basically you could see on the back of the screen when it comes up to, we say 10 seconds, you can stop it then when you've done 10 seconds of shooting. The timer, I have that set to 3 seconds. The initial start of it, when you press that, the timer will come on for 3 seconds, gives the camera a chance just to settle down. And then in the Pro Tune section, I set my white balance to 4000 Kelvin. Now for me, initially I had for another time lapse that I did with the vehicle lights, I had it set higher. So it was too bright initially when I did it. So what I had for this one is a minimum and a maximum set at 100. So if you find that your video is a little bit dark when you just do a quick test run, then increase your ISO maximum and minimum and keep both of them the same. I think if you automatically select it anyway, like 400, it'll change both of them to 400. So if I change that back to 100, so the minimum and the maximum will both be the same. You won't be able to select your sharpness, you won't be able to select your color, and that's basically the settings. So trail length, short, resolution, 5.3K or 4K, shutter at 1 second, and set your white balance because you don't want that to fluctuate. You might get some change in contrast and stuff like that. and your minimum and maximum both going to be the same. Just play around with that one. Now, one of the other questions that I was asked is also, how did I create the movement in this video? Did I use the dolly? Did I use some type of slider? But no, I didn't. So because I'm actually shooting in 4K or in 5.3K, that allows you to create a little bit of movement in there as well. So what I use for that, I use an editing software called DaVinci Resolve. Absolutely fantastic. It comes, the base model is for free, and I definitely recommend you to check that out. Okay, so here I have DaVinci Resolve, and if I go back just to the very start and play this. Okay, so if I just take this very first clip that's here. So originally, up here on the right hand side, this is where the keyframes were. So by adding keyframes here, it allows you to basically, you know, put a bit of movement into your shot. So what I did, if I just reset this here, so on the very first frame that's here, I added a keyframe here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a push in, so it's like a zoom in. So I just add the keyframe on the very first frame, and I go to the last frame of that clip. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a keyframe by pulling that in. So if I zoom in, and what I generally do with any of these movements, I don't go any more than 20%. So I'm pushing in basically there by 20%. So I've a zoom in, so from basically 1 to 1.2 is what I'm going to do. And let me just mute the music. So now what that actually will do is, as it goes forward, it's doing that push in. And there it is. And all you want is just these small little movements. Okay, so if I go to this clip here and I come to the very first. Okay, so as you scroll forward, you can see that it is in fact zooming in. Oh, let me mute this for a second. It is in fact zooming in. Okay, so you can see it's 1.20 and it's starting at 25. So it's just like a very little zoom back out is what it's doing. But most of the movement in this is the panning from left to right. So if you see here in this section here, it's starting at 0. So this is the first keyframe, and if I go to the last keyframe, it's now after being panned to the left as it's coming along, but it's also zooming out slightly, and it's only very slightly. So you can set your keyframes whatever way you want to do it. So if I just reset this one, reset both of these, and I go to the very first one, if I zoom in, we say, because I'm at 4K, if I zoom in a good bit, I set my first keyframe here on this one, and I'm going to set a keyframe at 0 for these as well. Now if I go to the very last frame of that clip, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to zoom out slightly, and I'm going to move the position slightly over to the right. So because you've got that 4K clip, it allows you to use up all that space. So if I go back now, and as I scroll forward, it's zooming out, but it's also panning to the left, which makes it seem like it's got a dolly movement, or it's on a slider. So I hope you got something from this video, folks. Thank you very much for joining in, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and I'm going to see you all again very, very soon in the next video. Thank you.